The horses of Silver and Trigger were a large part of each cowboy story. Larry and his wife Claire will recreate this memorable era with stories and lead us into singing songs that the cowboys sang. Let's give a warm welcome to Larry and Claire.
All right, thank you. Hey, let's see some noise, cowboys. I'm Cowboy Larry. Everybody say Cowboy Larry.
And I'm Cowgirl Claire. Hi, everybody.
I want you to turn and just by your neighbor, and whatever their name is, say how cowboy warrior are, okay? This is one of our favorites because it brings back memories of going to the show on Saturday and Sunday, the old matinees. I remember going to the old matinees. And we're going to go and talk about the westerns of that era and also how Hollywood created the western. It's called Cowboy Legends today because Hollywood, they exaggerate at times. And sometimes they make these heroes of the past greater than they actually were. What was the title of that song? Somebody said Rawhide, Bonanza, let's see over here. Magnificent Seven. But here's another western that really became very popular too. You already mentioned it. To get you going on this one. Everybody got your horses. And what were the cast members in that one? What were their names? Michael Landon, Lauren Green, Hoss. What was his name? The actor?
Dan Blocker.
Dan Blocker. Two more. Cornell Roberts playing Adam. And Little Joe. Michael Landon. Very good. But really, it all started in the early 1900s with the silent movie stars. Anybody know who the first real big silent movie star was? Before Tom Mix. William S. Hart. He was a star in 1903. When the Cubs won the World Series. 1903. And he was known for his facial expressions, the costumes that were really up to date. And he lasted about 17 years as one of the great cowboy stars. The cowboy always gets the girl, and the girl usually was the horse. Yeah, the average was around a dime. And on Sundays, sometimes they had 25. They told in cartoons. And they made it 35 cents, which was a lot of money before you know that. And on his television show that started in 1953, the Walt Disney Show, remember that? It was on Wednesday night. He had 4 parts. One was Frontierland, Fantasyland, Adventureland, and Tomorrowland. Well, on Frontierland, of course, he wanted to take the old heroes of the past, and one of them was Davy Crockett. In fact, I go to these antique places all over the country to look for stuff, and I happen to see this in one of the Denver stores, antique, and I make sure, first of all, that it wasn't moving. And I opened it up, and it was a Walt Disney Davy Crockett hat.
Davy Crockett, the king of the wild frontier. Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, the greenest state in the land of the free. Raised in the woods, so he knew every tree. They killed him a fire when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
And Davy Crockett was there, Travis was there, and Jim Bowie. And what they did is they took this Alamo, and it really was the start of a lot of the movies from the West, because the Alamo was an important part of Americana, where 185 Rangers or soldiers from Tennessee and Texas helped try to defeat the Mexican army of 5,000. So Marty Robbins came up with a song. I'm going to play part of it today, not the whole thing. And just listen to the song, and it tells the history of this war, of the Alamo, by the beautiful ballad of Marty Robbins.
In the southern part of Texas, in the town of San Antonio, is a fortress all in ruins that the weeds have overgrown. Colonel Travis, Davy Crockett, and 180 more, Captain Dickinson, Jim Bowie, present and accounted for. Back in 1836, Houston said to Travis,
Talk about several of the women that were important.
Yes, there weren't anywhere near the number of women as men, but we do have a few, and they were important in the history. The first one is Annie Oakley. Now, Annie Oakley was born in a Quaker family, very poor family. In fact, at one point in her life, she was sent to a poor farm to live. But when she was about 9 years old, she started shooting, and she became quite a markswoman. Well, this particular hotel also decided one day that, you know what, she should go up against a professional marksman. So she went up against Frank Butler, and Annie Oakley had 25 out of 25, and he had 24 out of 25. So Annie won the match, and a month later, they ended up getting married. Buffalo Bill's Wild West shows, and there she met Sitting Bull. And he was so enthralled with her that he called her Little Miss Sure Shot. There was another woman, Calamity Jane, but she didn't go around with a uniform on. And she fought the Indians. In fact, she got her name Calamity Jane because she saved her superior, Captain Egan, in Wyoming. When she died, her only request was that she be buried next to Wild Bill Hickok in Deadwood, and her request was granted. There was one lady who was an outlaw, Belle Starr. In fact, she worked with Jesse James and Frank James and the younger gang, and she was a true outlaw. In fact, she had a very violent death, though, because of her outlaw. She was shot in the back, and they never knew if it was her son who disliked her or her lover.
hold it, stranger. I'll tell you a story, a real true life story, a tale of the western frontier. The West, it was lawless, but one man was flawless, and his is the story you'll hear.
Everybody!
Wilder, Wilder.
And a new brand of cowboy star is coming from Hollywood. And they were looking for the singing cowboy. The singing cowboy. And they found one right here in Chicago at the National Barn Dance at the 8th Grade Theater. His name was Gene Autry.
That's where I fell in love, when the stars above came out to play. And now as I wander south of the border, down Mexico.
And of course, the good guys always wore what?
Black.
And the bad guys? Black. Except one guy. He had a black hat, but he had a white horse.
Hop Along Casting had two sponsors, Wonder Bread and Bond Bread.